Hi, I'm Mike Caldwell. I'm the Director of the Business Innovation Zone. The Business Innovation Zone, or the BIZ, was created to help high-growth potential entrepreneurs and businesses in central Iowa. We provide a variety of services, including mentoring, consulting, counseling, validating business models, and help with access to funding for high-growth companies. We offer also a number of networking opportunities, including luncheons once a month and all-day seminars on subjects such as marketing and finance. You can find out more about the BIZ at www.bizci.org.
So we've talked about who being on first. We've talked about what being on second. So now, of course, it's time to round the bend to third, which, as you all will remember, is I don't know. So I think the biggest I don't know in marketing today is social media. And I think that not understanding social media is simply not acceptable anymore. I think you have got to understand at least how it works and what it means to your business. And you get to decide how deeply you engage in it, but to just ignore it and stick your head in the sand is a very dangerous position to take. So let me ask you this. How many of you are engaged in some form of social media on behalf of your business today? Okay, so how many of you have a social media strategy that you feel good about and that you know is part of your overall marketing effort today? Okay, so everybody raised their hands. They're in it. So I'm assuming that means you either have a Facebook fan page, a Facebook account, or a Twitter account, or maybe you're on LinkedIn, but are not sure what to do with it. And that's actually where most businesses are today. They've sort of waded into the water because they thought they had to, but then they got there and they looked around and they were like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing here. So here are a couple things that I think are really critical for us to understand as business people. So today, and actually this result is a couple years old now, it was late 2008, so I'm sure that number has grown. But today, if you were to Google any of the 20 big brands, Ford, Coca-Cola, Disney, more than 25% of what you would get on Google is content that was created by people like you and me. Has nothing to do with the company, may or may not be accurate, but other people are out there creating a whole lot of content. And the reason that that's happening is because, of course, it's easy to do today. Anytime a business ticks you off or you're not happy with it, you know, there was a guy locally here who went into a locally owned donut shop. The owner told him to screw off, but he didn't use quite that language. Well, so the guy went back in, he had his flip camera with him, engaged with the man again, got it all on video, and it was on YouTube 50 minutes later. So we need to understand that a lot of things that are being said out there about us are not what we are putting out there. So in the good old days, before, you know, YouTube and Facebook and all of that, we didn't have the tools, unless we knew code and all of that, we didn't have the tools to create web content. And so the only ones who could create web content were the companies that were generating content for their own companies. But now today, so if I said to you 10 years ago, hey, can you find a video of somebody blending an iPhone and email it to me, you would have said, A, I have no idea where I'd find a video. B, why would anyone ever blend an iPhone? And C, I don't know how to send you video. But if I said that to you today, while you're sitting in your chair, most of you could pull out your smartphone, go to YouTube, find the Blend Tech video, and email it to me in the flip of an eye, right? So all of a sudden, the tools have made it possible for everyone to create content, and they are. Some other statistics that matter to us, the number of text messages sent every day exceeds the population of the planet. And keep in mind that kids 25 and younger are digital natives. They grew up having cell phones. Everybody 25 and older, at some point in their life, didn't have a cell phone. And today, if you talk to a teenager and explain to them you didn't have a phone on you, they look at you like you're insane, right? But, so imagine if that's the number now, with half the population not being a digital native and the other half being a digital native. Imagine what that number is going to be like when today's 15-year-olds are 45. So text messaging and the mobile device are becoming more and more a part of our daily life. And it's not just kids. 57% of adults are texting on a regular basis. I'm pretty sure that most adults were taught how to text by their children. But tomorrow's parents grew up with cell phones, so no one's going to have to teach them how to text. So the numbers get bigger and bigger. 63% of all U.S. adults have joined a social network, making it the #1 platform for creating and sharing content. 63% of every adult. And of course, the king daddy of all of that is Facebook. Look at some of these numbers. More than 300 million users, they're pushing 500 million now. 50% of users log on every day. Anybody want to guess how many times a day the average Facebook user logs onto their Facebook account? 3 times your guess? Anybody else? 60, did you say?
16.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, wow. It's actually 7.4 times a day on average. So not only are they logging on every day, but they're logging on multiple times a day. Or many people are just staying logged on all day long.
Is that the website itself or is that Facebook Connect as well?
That's the website itself. Yeah, so imagine now what it is with Facebook Connect. Right. And a lot of people dismiss Facebook and say, oh, that's for the kids, that's for the younger set. Biggest growing demographic is 50 plus. The biggest group of people on Facebook today, much to the teenagers' consternation, I'm sure, is 35 to 44. So this isn't a kid's tool anymore. Twitter, which a lot of people dismiss, more than 50% of all C-level executives, 40 and younger, are on Twitter every day. So probably cannot be dismissed either. And here's one that I think is really important. More than 34% of us are accessing the web every day on our phones. They say by 2020, the way we will all access the web more than any other way is our mobile devices. So everything is moving to 24/7. I have the web with me. I have my email. I can, text message. I can hop on the internet all the time. And of course, every phone comes preloaded with all of those social media tools to create more content. So that 25% is just going to keep growing because everybody out there is creating content. So we need to be there, right? That makes sense. We need to be there, and that's where everybody's at, so we all jump out and we do something. But the question for a lot of people is where? There's so many different places to be, and there are so many different social media outlets. How do I know which ones that I should pay attention to? How do I know which ones will be in a business 6 months from now? And that's why I think a lot of people are afraid to jump into the water because it looks like it's sort of shark infested. I could make so many mistakes that maybe I'm better off. Yeah, I'll get a Facebook page, but I'm not actually going to do anything with it. Or I'm going to stay out of the water altogether. I'm just going to stay up on the diving board. So I want to tell you a couple quick stories. This is a gentleman named Paul McEnany, and Paul is a marketing guy who lives in Texas. So a few years ago, right after the holidays, on New Year's Eve actually, he walked into his local Kohl's, and it was a disaster. It was an absolute disaster. And I don't know if you can see these pictures, but he took pictures because it's the 21st century, and so there's 2 things that are true. One, we feel the need to share everything. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure the discretion gene is gone for good. And number 2, we have the technology in our pocket to instantly share everything. So Paul goes into Kohl's, and what does he do? He snaps pictures with his phone, and then because he has a blog, or it could have as easily been Facebook or something else, he shares it with the world. And basically he writes about how, Kohl's is trying to reposition themselves, but this is the sort of thing that customers see, which sort of gets in the way of the repositioning, right? So then other bloggers, myself included, grab onto it, and they start talking about it and using it as a platform to sort of make their point. And my point was that it's a brand issue, that if the employees don't get it and they don't understand what the brand is, then you can't expect them to care about what the store looks like. All fine and dandy. So 11 days later, Kohl's finally gets wind of it, okay, and it's been going on this whole time. And after I promise you, they sat around a conference room table discussing it and tried to decide how to respond, and they wrote in a committee fashion, which you all know is the best way to write. They wrote in the committee fashion a response. And the response is, and my eyes are too old to see it on the screen, Please know that it is our top priority. The VP of Public Relations left this on his voicemail. Please know that it is our top priority to provide you and all of our customers a quality shopping experience. Really, when was the last time you uttered the words quality shopping experience, right? I'm very sorry that you recently encountered an unacceptable store environment and from your pictures, clearly not up to our standards. I have advised our senior level management, they've been made aware, and they're highly committed to addressing it. So thanks again for letting me know. I do appreciate hearing from you, and we do value your patronage. So it's the 21st century. What does Paul do? He shares their ridiculous committee-fed message on his blog, and he makes fun of it. So other people are writing about that now, and it's going on and on and on. And at this point, you're saying, okay, that sounds pretty bad. What worse could happen? Well, what worse happened was the employees of Kohl's from across the land got wind of the blog. And by the hundreds in the beginning, and now by the thousands, they started leaving comments sharing their perspective of what it was like to work at Kohl's. Took me about an hour to find one that I could read out loud. I started working at Kohl's last summer, and I learned very quickly that people suck. I don't mean that just the customers suck, but the associates suck too. Mainly because some of the ones I work with bitch and complain about stupid crap and or do nothing to help. By the hundreds, and now today, by the thousands. Kohl's is nowhere around for this conversation. They left their one voicemail message and then they checked out. So, and I'm telling you, the things that these employees talked about, what people do in dressing rooms, what people leave in dressing rooms, what they find in the pockets of clothes that get returned, all absolutely disgusting. And also a lot of talk about the management, by name, by the way. So you're saying, okay, funny, cute little story. I don't get why this matters. I'd never heard of it before. Well, it matters because if, let's say, I want to go to Kohl's and I can't remember what hours they're open here in, Clive, West Des Moines, where I live. So it's the 21st century. Where do I get all information? Google. So I Google Kohl's, right? Because I'm looking for the store locator because I know that's where the hours will be. And look at what happens here. Here's the sponsored ad. Here's an ad that is authentic. It's a Kohl's ad. And here, number 3 on page 1 of Google is Hee Haw Marketing's Hurricane Kohl's. So let's just say I click on it because that looks interesting, doesn't it? And about 3 hours later, when I crawl out of the comment section, I'm going to point my car to Target, and I'm never going to Kohl's again. That's why this matters. On the flip side, this is a guy that some of you may know, Tom Vanderwell, lives down in Pella, and he is a national expert on call centers and also happens to be a blogger. So Paul, because he lives in Pella and because he owns a PC, had to bring his PC up to Des Moines to Best Buy to get it fixed because there's no place to get a PC fixed down in Pella. So they have it for about a week. They call him. He drives up to Des Moines from Pella to get it. He gets home, and you know exactly what I'm going to say. It's not fixed. So, of course, it's the 21st century, and we, A, have no discretion gene, so we share everything, and B, we have the tools to share immediately. Tom writes about customer service, so this is a great case study for his blog. So basically, his point is, you can have the cute little shtick with the Geek Squad, but if you can't actually fix what you say you're going to fix, it doesn't matter. So his blog goes live about 9:30 at night. And about 10 o'clock that same night, he gets an email from the CEO of the Geek Squad saying, Tom, I just saw your blog post. I'm very sorry. I'm embarrassed. I really want to talk to you to see if we can get this resolved. So long story short, first Tom thinks that it's one of his friends kidding, but they worked that out. So next thing he knows, he's on the phone at 10:30 at night with the CEO of the Geek Squad. And he's saying, you know what, Tom, we'll take care of this. What time are you going to be at your office tomorrow? We will come down to you. You don't need to drive back to Des Moines. We will come down to you. We will bring you a loaner. We will take your laptop. We will bring it back up. We'll get it fixed. So all of that happens. And now keep in mind, it's the 21st century, so what is Tom doing throughout this process? He's chronicling the Best Buy experience, right? So he puts up this flaming blog post about how they can't even fix computers, and that's what they say they're going to do. And then immediately after, his next blog post is, You're not going to believe it, but I just got off the phone with the CEO of the Geek Squad. So he's chronicling what happens. Well, about a week later when his laptop is fixed, and this time it's really fixed, not only did they bring him his laptop, but they did something that was brilliant. Later, we're going to talk about creating love affairs with your customers and the little things you can do that make a difference. Well, they made Tom an honorary geek. So they brought him the goofy glasses and a shirt and all this stuff. And look at this last line on his blog post. I'm an honorary geek and a raving fan. Well done. So it went from being furious and frustrated to being a raving fan. What was the difference between the Kohl's and the Best Buy experience? One of them was monitoring what was being said on the internet about their company, and one was not. So Kohl's checked out. Took them 11 days to get wind of it and respond, and then they completely checked out. Imagine what would have happened in the comment section if every time an employee left a comment, a management person also left a comment. Let's say that Mike left a comment as a disgruntled employee, and then I left one that said, Mike, you know what, I searched our database and I see that you work in our Columbia store. I'm really worried that you have this concern. I'm going to have your manager talk to you about it tomorrow. Do you think hundreds and now thousands of employees would have continued to add fuel to the fire? I don't think so. But because they weren't paying attention, remember, Google never forgets anything, right? I was speaking to a class at Drake, a bunch of seniors. And I don't know if you've been in a college class lately, but everybody has their laptop open all the time. And you know they're really on Facebook, but they're pretending that they're listening to you. And so I was saying, boy, before you go out to interview, you better Google yourself. Because you want to know, I promise you, your prospective employers are going to Google you, so you want to know. So all of a sudden, about 3 minutes later, a little hand in the back of the room. Mr. McClellan, yeah? How do you get Google, hypothetically, if you were to find something on Google that you didn't want an employer to see, how do you request Google take it off? I said, you don't. You better come up with a great story because that's staying forever, right? So the difference is for these companies, one mitigated the problem and now has a great story on the internet forever, and the other one has this disaster of an employee explosion all over the internet. If you don't do anything else with social media in a planned, careful way, you have got to listen to what's being said about you. How many of you are using Google Alerts? Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Google Alerts is a free service from Google. You search in this box here just like you would search on regular Google. So let's say I wanted to keep track of what was said about me. I'd put Drew McClellan in quotes. I would choose comprehensive. I'd put in once a day because really they'll send it to you every time, but most people don't need that. I put in my email address, I click this create alert button. So let's say you want to do your name, which you all should do, your company name, your CEO's name. For some of you who work for nonprofits, maybe your board chair's name. So some of those kind of things. You're going to have to do one of these for each search term, okay? But anyway, you're going to click on create alert. You're going to get an email saying, hey, did you create that alert? Which you're going to say, yes. You're going to click the link. And then every day that something new is out there that matches those search terms, you're going to get an email that tells you what's out there. So for one of mine that I searched for my name, here were 3 articles where I was mentioned that day. So what it gives me, now this one is on my own blog, so I know what I said. This one is on somebody else's blog, so it gives me a link. I can click on it to go see what it said. But really, in a matter of a minute, I can scan that. I can decide either it's not me, the Drew McClellan, it's somebody else, or it is me, but I know who they are, so I don't have to worry about it. Or, you know what, I don't know who they are, or I don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to go read whatever that is and decide whether or not to respond. But I can't do that if I don't get that email in my inbox, okay? Google does not index Twitter, but you can set up searches on Twitter that just send you an email or feed into your RSS feed, so you can track them the exact same way. There's also a website called Currently with a K, so it's currently like, oh, currently it's raining, but with a K that will search both Facebook and Twitter for your search terms. So there's lots of tools out there, by the way, those are all free. So there's no excuse really for us not tracking what's being said about our businesses. If you want to create content, because here's the thing, so remember we talked about that 25%, right? 25% of all the content written about the big brands today is written by someone else. The big brands are creating a lot of content. So they're trying to keep that balance because the more content they create, then they're keeping that number in check. For businesses that are creating no content about themselves, other than they have a static web page, can you see how that number 25 is going to turn to 45 and then to 75? Because everybody else is out there talking about you, but you're not out there creating content. So if you want to create some content to balance that conversation, because right now it's a monologue, everybody's talking about you, but you're not talking back or you're not talking about yourself, these are the only 4 that really you need to pay attention to. On your website / blog, if you're going to have a blog, and by the way, most businesses do not have the discipline or the fortitude to actually blog. So I'm not one of those social media guys who says everybody should blog, because if you're not going to do it and do it well, it's better to not do it at all. But anyway, blog, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube is actually the number 2 search engine in the world. So if you have some expertise, and if you can demonstrate that expertise in little 1-minute videos, you can give people little tips about, how to keep your Mac working and cooking, or whatever it is that you do, little videos of building a habitat house, whatever it may be. That's a great way to impact the search engines, is to put up, to have your own channel on YouTube, which, by the way, free, easy to do, and then just upload those videos, which, of course, 8-year-olds are doing now, so we can certainly figure it out. What most people use Twitter for are 2 things. One, to establish themselves as a resource by sharing content or resources. Now, when I say most people, I'm talking about the people who are using it well. I'm not talking about the people who talk about themselves all the time, because, really, right? I mean, think about it. If you went to a cocktail party and you stood and talked to somebody and all they did was talk about themselves, you would poke yourself in the eye with a pencil to get away from them, right? Well, that's how social media is too. So a lot of marketers in particular spend a whole lot of time talking about themselves rather than talking about their expertise and sharing what they know. But the good ones, you're sharing your expertise and you're having these little mini conversations. It's also become, for a lot of people, sort of an instant message or text message. I don't know your cell phone number, but I can send you this little message. So a lot of it is happening, really a lot of conversations in Twitter are happening on the private side, the direct message side. But a lot of people are just trying to establish some connections with peer groups, sharing resources. So for you, for example, you may want to do a Twitter search to find out who's talking about the kind of work that you do, and then start following them and engaging them. That's actually one of the side benefits of social media that people don't think about. You can really connect with a group of your peers in a way that you didn't think was possible. On my Facebook account, Drew McClellan, me the person, half of my friends are work friends and half of them are personal friends. So they enter into that friendship on Facebook with me, understanding that my personal friends are going to hear me talk about marketing and my clients are going to see pictures of my daughter at homecoming. That's just the deal, right? So that's your Facebook account. A lot of people are like, well, I don't ever say anything bad, but I have friends who do and say and post and whatever, or family, right? Mom puts stuff up, right? There are a million privacy settings on that thing to control what shows up. So remember, for example, let's say that my mom is a little nutters, and she puts things, now I'm not saying that's true, I'm just saying hypothetically, let's say. I know.
I'm calling her.
She doesn't get on the internet, so she won't know. Anyway, let's say my mom puts stuff on her Facebook page that I think, I really don't need all my clients seeing that conversation, right? I can set up settings. Just because I see it on her wall or her update doesn't mean everyone else can see it. Now, if I like it or comment on it, then it goes into my wall. So be careful about what you comment on. I'm Facebook friends with a lot of my daughter's friends who are all in high school, and I have to really stop and think, because a lot of times the dad in me wants to go, I cannot believe you put this on Facebook. But then I think, no, now that'll show up on my wall, right? So you have to be careful about how you use it. But most of your clients sort of know that you have a personal life, and they also have a mom that's a little nutters, right? And so what it does is it changes the relationship a little bit. When we talk about creating love affairs, part of creating a love affair with a customer is being willing to put your heart on your sleeve a little bit. It's being willing to let it get personal. It's about being willing to let them see that you're a whole human being who makes mistakes, who has a nutter's mom, and all that sort of stuff. So yes, you can control it, but it's also okay to let some of it blend together. Because part of the contract, the unspoken contract in that is, if I'm friends with you on Facebook, I know you're going to put some personal stuff up there. I don't know about you guys, but those of you who are on Facebook, I've taken sort of a break from Facebook this week because of all the political junk on both sides. So sometimes you have to sort of say, okay, this is a season of time on Facebook where there's not a lot of business being discussed. Okay, I'll stay out of it for a while. But now what you do with your business, of course, is you build a page, what we used to call fan page, but now it's a like page, I guess. Anyway, that's where you have your business stuff. And you use your personal account and those personal connections to bring people to that business page. Yeah, your business page is separate from your personal account. But what a lot of people are doing is they have the Mike Caldwell Facebook account that his family has, and then they have the Michael Caldwell business account, right? Right? So first of all, Facebook will tell you that the only one who can have a Facebook account is a human being. So if you opened up your business as an account and Facebook finds out about it or catches it, they will delete the account. So make sure you open a page for fit your business and an account for a human being. Are there ways around that? Yes. We have a client whose dog, he doesn't have a picture of a dog, but whose dog has a Facebook account because that way he can let everybody in the company, manipulate their page. But for the most part, an account is a human, a page is a business or an entity. You have to make a decision about if you're going to live two sort of separate lives, which, I don't know about you guys, but time is sort of an issue for me. So to keep two Facebook things going, I don't have time for that. So I figure, you know what, if they see Nutter's mom or they see something my daughter did, so be it. And then have a page for your business. But here's the thing. Here's the reality about social media. I told you the stories about, Kohl's and Best Buy, but I have an equal list of stories of what employees have done on social media that have really put their employers in hot water. So sooner or later, whether you work for someone else or you own the company, businesses are going to have social media policies just like they have HR policies or sexual harassment policies or all those things. So A, you may want to think about doing that for yourselves and your business. But B, we're building a lot of those for clients today, helping them think that through. In fact, I've got a meeting later this week with a bank, and they've got to figure out how to do that. And so we're sort of walking them through that process. But be careful because it's all uncharted water. There is no law of the land. There are no golden rules. So all of the things like, we can be sued for sexual or for age discrimination, that's all brand new water. So no one's really figured out how to chart the course through that. So just know that it's being invented as we go.